Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Zoe and I were going to do a Q&A at Kinokuniya bookstore in Sydney for the launch of Make a Living Living, and obviously the universe had other plans for us. So we have been nimble, and instead we are joining together on Zoom, being very modern women and going with the flow. So we are doing it this way. I hope you guys enjoy it. Zoe, hi.
I am so excited and I am so proud because, what a book to write, but also the timing couldn't be better. I know that we're locked in our homes and we're feeling probably a lot of anxiety around our current financial positions. Everything is shifting. The economy, what's happening is very unknown to us. And also we're stuck with, what can I fill my day with if that's not children and husbands and partners and tasks, but also what is my heart saying to me? Because now I'm still and I'm not rushing anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this is a double-pronged question, but do you feel like the purpose of this book being written is kind of accentuated right now because we're all in this place?
Yeah, look, I'm so glad you picked up on that, because that's exactly, of course, when COVID first entered the picture, I was on a personal level, I was a bit devastated because, of course, the book sort of entered into empty bookstores, and I was wondering how it would all go down and how it would be received. But actually, I'm very grateful to be able to offer something that I think might really help people at the moment. Anyone who's there kind of, as you say, at home, trying to think about what the future might look like. I mean, this, I really do believe, and not to diminish any of the incredible pain and anxiety that a lot of people are feeling right now, but it is a time of deep thinking, of going slow, of reimagining, and about getting really clear on how we might all be able to be of better service when we re-enter the world, which is going to be a different place when we get back in there. So the book is centered around these 26 profiles of people who have made a living doing what they love. So from chocolatiers to wood carvers to tiny home builders, but people who have all had to be very creative, not just in the thing that they're doing, but in their approach to how they are making a living. And that's something that I think that we could all really use right now.
And I think right now, because we have to be creative in so many elements, like you've got event planners and you have people that are working in that space that maybe were caterers now, learning and thinking about how can I now use my tools online. Mm-hmm. Right? Or how can I service the people to their homes? It's like, no matter what your skill set is or what your passion is, I think there's some way right now we can harness our energies to go, how can I bring this to the world? And look, we all will go back to normal soon enough, but this is your space to get really creative and also learn. And that's the thing in the book. There were so many beautiful gems for me, because who said it, that you can literally learn anything online? Google it. We have every resource at our fingertips right now. There is no excuse, if you're passionate and patient, that you can't figure it out how to make a living.
That is so true. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. I mean, this is kind of, in a lot of ways, we're perfectly placed. I was reading an article yesterday that was like, what would this have looked like had this happened in 2005? You know, we don't have all the resources in order to be doing this in the way that we are. You know, we can take things online. We can actually harness that power of the internet. It was the knitter that you were referring to there. I mean, this girl,
yes,
honestly, she jumped onto the internet and taught herself how to knit. She set up her website on there. Then she built her team on there. It's really incredible. And she started with about $100. And there are so many people in the book who did that. I mean, there's another girl who's like a sustainable fashion designer, Jean de Kroon, and she started her business online with, I think it was like €50, and she got a friend to shoot it, and she just popped up the website, which she thought, oh, I'll just put that one up for now. And it's the website she's still using today, when she's like featured in Vogue and on panels with Stella McCartney and all these sorts of things. So I think now is really a time for us to all look at, okay, so how can we use the technology that we have? And I think we're all thinking a lot about finances right now, so how can we use that new situation and work with what we've got? And there's a lot of examples in there of people who've done that.
What about the people that are like, you know what, I've been in corporate for 15 years. I don't even know what I love anymore. I'm so lost. And now my income has been cut. I don't know if I have a place in the economy because it's going to take such a long time to recover. How do I figure out what I love?
Yeah.
And you've got these beautiful practices in the workbook, but is that somewhere you would suggest starting?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's a really valid point. There are people who are going to be having major shifts, who are not in that headspace already, but actually they're the people who I really wanted the book to speak to. I mean, I think if you are, it's not like I wanted to speak to somebody who was already a painter who necessarily wanted to do that professionally, which of course I would like that person to pick up on that as well. But I was thinking of, somebody who might have been working in accounting for 10 years, who is just like, I am desperate to go off and pursue my dream of creating a tea company. But I have no idea how to start that. I'm terrified of what that might mean in terms of, financial sacrifice and all those sorts of things. And also, like you say, people who are just not really sure what that thing is for them. So yeah, there are these 8 exercises that are really about unleashing creativity. And that's anything from, doing your morning pages, journaling, to freehand drawing, which unleashes the right side of your brain, to taking a little photography walk, just doing anything, mood boarding, actually physically moving your body, all these things that can really move us into that other sector of our brain that can really unleash creativity and show us different ways of being.
And I also think if you're unsure, can you buy this book on Kindles? I'm so old-fashioned, I just get the hard copy.
I love it.
But if you wanted to access the book, you can buy it online and get it directly sent to you. But if you wanted to know now, you can get it Kindled. I don't know if that's a word. And then learn, because all of these people, it sparks thoughts when you're reading their stories and you're going, oh my gosh, there's an agriculturist and there is a chocolatier. Oh my God, I love baking, or I love this. It kind of sparks your mind that you go, oh, I could make a living off that. Oh, people make lucrative money off that thing. And that's not, I guess, the point isn't that you're going to be rolling in the dough, pardon the pun, but it's going to be that you want to open this passage to explore something that fills the soul. And that's going to take me to my next question.
I love that.
Which is, make a living is in the title. Like, how? And I mean, it's all in there, and there's such beautiful explanations of that. But how did you get these people to share? I mean, money is a big topic. People feel very uncomfortable about talking about money. Your introduction shares your experience with finances, like, how did you get everyone to be so transparent? And also, can we discuss a little bit about what making a living means?
Yes. Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking of this as 2 things. First of all, it wasn't always easy to get people to talk about that. I mean, in the creative arts, money is not something that is often talked about. I think there's a lot of shame around it because often there isn't these huge amounts of income. I think people are scared to almost say what they make. They're not sure if they should be making more, all those sorts of things. Or on the flip side of that, if anyone has had any privilege, they feel ashamed about, about leaning on that privilege in order to be doing what they're doing. And that is something I definitely made sure wasn't in the book. So I chose people who definitely didn't have privilege behind them and who really did
Yeah.
have to start with like nothing much at all in order to
Yeah.
do this. But yeah, so some people, it was really, really hard to draw it out of them and they really didn't want to go there. But after I explained, like we need to get this conversation happening, because I think that's a big part of what spurred me to write the book, is that a lot of people had always come to me and been like, oh my God, like you travel and you do this, but how do you make money from that? And like, how did you start doing that? And how much money do you have to put into that? And all those sorts of questions that made me think, gosh, this is a topic that people really want to know about. And I personally always wanted to know about. I'd look at things like, somebody who was making a living off knitting or weaving or pottery, these things that are featured in the book, and I'd be like, okay, sure, but how do you make money off that? And the other
can you pay your bills? Like, are you paying your bills?
How are you paying your bills? That's right. And so that really is explained in there. And look, to be honest, a lot of the time it is about paring back. There's a big undercurrent in the book about simple living, about sustainability, and these are things that are often necessary in order to do what you love. But it's interesting, a couple of people in there said, people look at that sort of a thing as a sacrifice, but truly the biggest sacrifice is not doing the thing in life that lights you up, right?
Yeah.
So if you reframe it that way, and this is what I was referring to with the second part of this question, is almost like this is a redefinition of success. I think we have this very one track mind when it comes to success, of like success means financial abundance, the big house, the 3 cars, whatever that looks like in your mind. This is like, success is freedom. It is creative expression. It is time, like spare time. There's a couple in there who, they're local Byron people. They have a business called the Church Farm General Store. And they said this beautiful line at the end of their interview. They create these soaps and sauces and things. And they said, look, our business could be bigger. It could be making more money. It could be doing all of those things. But we love our business, but we also really love our kids. We love surfing. We love hanging out. And that is what we are prioritizing. We are crafting a life that is the creative act, the crafting of that life. And I just really, really loved that approach. And I think it's essential.
I think that that's so important too, because this current climate that we're living in is a restart.
Yes.
So it's, the time is now to go, okay, what is valuable? How do we see success? Because a lot of those pillars are going to be snatched from underneath people unintentionally. People are going to have to, like you said, shift into, okay, well, what makes me purposeful? What makes my soul sing? What makes me feel connected to others? How am I of service to others, right? Mm-hmm. And once you sit in that, I think that, I hope that this weird transition that we're in is going to develop people, instead of being terrified and anxious, to feeling empowered and purposeful in a more simple way, like needing less. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, is reframing success. I think we're getting bored of the success story. The look, entrepreneur is such a broad word, and we are all those things, but that kind of thing of like, I'm running 6 businesses and I'm multimillionaire and I'm doing this. And I feel like we're looking past it, like, but what is it that you're doing that feels good? What are you doing to make others feel good? What are you like feeding yourself with? It can't just be the money and the cars and the things, because right now when you're stuck inside, we all have 4 walls, most of us. God forbid those people that are really suffering right now. But if you don't, you can't use your car. You can't be wearing your Balenciaga shoes and you know what I mean? Like everything is kind of purposeless now. Like there's no meaning to all of the things. We are thingless. So it's kind of the time where it's like, okay, this is exciting. Who can I be in this space? And okay, I am interested in glass blowing, or something. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to just try it. It might not be for me. It might be for me. But I feel like we've been in this rat race since we've left primary school to high school to tertiary education. It's been like, what's your thing? What's your thing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And there's no time. Like these people, like what a gift that they've given themselves to go, what do I love? Like, oh my God, who would we all be?
That's it. That's so true. And you know what? I love that last thing that you just said, who sat there and went, what do I love? There is a girl in the book. Her name is Julia Kahn Anselmo, and she has a beautiful business called Feisty Feast, right? It is almost like a supper club for big groups of women all around the world. And she gathers the women and she feeds them and she runs women's talks and workshops and things around them. But she actually went to university to study art curation, and she got like her dream job in the art world and she was doing it. Then she got made redundant. And she said it was this period where she just was, at an all-time low. This is the thing that she'd spent years at university doing. It was what had made her parents so proud, all these sorts of things. But she said, you know what? I decided that I would simply take some time off when that happened. I would observe myself and I would just see what I was naturally drawn to. So she just started, being at home, doing what she naturally wanted to do. And she realized it was cooking. All she wanted to do was be cooking and entertaining and curating and doing all those sorts of things like within the domestic sphere. And then that's how Feisty Feast was born. And I think that that's such a cool approach. Like if we could all take that approach right now and just observe ourselves, what am I being drawn to? Not forcing ourselves, not going, okay, sit down, be creative. It's not about that. It's like, okay, if you find that you are, baking all the time, like what might that lead to? Or it might not even be the act of the thing that you're doing, but maybe it's that you love, just giving to people because you're baking and you're giving it out to everybody. So you're just observing and seeing where you are naturally drawn, following the threads of delight and pulling on those and seeing where they lead.
And I think that's a beautiful point, is because we've never really valued following our pleasure, like in the sense of an innocent pleasure versus like a hedonistic pleasure. Yes. It's like, why can't we, is it wrong that I just want to sit and be? Is it wrong that I don't want a to-do list and tick everything off? It's almost like reframing, and it's such a perfect time for this book because we have been shaken up so severely that, all the sediment is settling and we get to choose now. Like we can come out of this. It's like going to be before COVID and after. And you can come out of this and be like, I just made a decision that this is not working for me and I want to go on this path. And it's so beautiful. And you've mentioned this in the book, and so many of the other artists have mentioned this in the book, is not all artists, but the people that you're featuring, that it's that true, I guess, trusting in self to be okay with whatever friends, family, the outside world think of your new direction. Like the courage to sit in that and go, like, I remember, this is such a beautiful example for you of our friendship. I remember when you went through this like real goth period, and one day I'd seen you when you weren't goth, and then the next day I saw you when you were goth, and it was like this decision was made and you were this girl, and I saw you and I was just like, okay, because she's like committed. It wasn't like, oh, is this like a phase? Or it was like the commitment to, and I've seen that through your style over the years, it's always developed and shifted and changed with such conviction that no one can question why you're wearing capes and witches' hats. Like, no one. It's like so committed. And I think that's the thing going through this is if someone goes, yeah, but you're an accountant, like, what are you doing baking cupcakes? Like, that's lame. It's like, this is my choice. This is my happiness. You can, and I think it's a beautiful filter to who is important. You can love it or leave it. This is where my truth is now. And also, it's probably going to challenge you to check in with what you're chasing and what you're doing. And I think that is such a beautiful part of this because it's a ricochet.
Yes.
Like, making your living is a ricochet because you inspire me to be more sustainable, to look at the actions I'm creating in my work. And then that in turn, I hope, is ricocheting onto others because you can't not connect to that truth, I think.
I love that, babe. Beautiful words. And I think what we're touching on here is courage, right? This takes a lot
Total courage.
And it's interesting, there's a guy in the book who has an incredible tea company called Living Tea. And he said this amazing thing to me. I mean, he had a very, like, quite a corporate career and he had worked in various companies and things. And then he always had this peripheral interest in Chinese medicine and also tea as a Buddhist practice. And he then decided, okay, I'm going to do this as a full-time job. I'm going to give this my all. And can you imagine? This is a guy in America who came from the corporate sphere, and then he's like, hey guys, I'm going to start a tea company. And people said to him, are you kidding me? Isn't that what bored housewives do? Where is your crystal wand? And he was just like, I had to shut out the noise of those naysayers and just give it everything that I had, because I knew deep inside that this was the thing that had to be birthed through me. And I just think that that's such a common thing. I hear that from a lot of people, you know, oh, but my husband would feel this way about it, or I personally don't feel like I really embody that yet. I don't know if I could be that person. But I think it's that you're right. It takes conviction. It takes determination. It takes guts. And not in a, like, even in a brash outward way. That can just be something that quietly sits within you. But you really do need to dig your heels in and really just give it a shot. And also keep bearing in mind that things change, the world changes, as we know, very quickly, and we need to move with that. There's a guy in there who's a florist, and he has a really incredible story in that I don't want to give too much away, but he was a casting director on shows like The Voice, and he decided, after seeing all these passionate people and they're singing all the time, he was like, I'm kind of passionate about my job, but I'm not like that. And I really want to find that. So he quit his job after he had gathered a nest egg together to soften the blow. And he went off and he did what he thought he really wanted to do, which was taking vintage bric-a-brac, doing it up and selling it on the internet. And he did that for a while and he was like, okay, the dream is not the dream. I don't want to sell the vintage bric-a-brac. I know what I really want to do. I want to start a pickle company. And so he started pickling. And he was like, yes, I just really want to be a pickle maker. And then he realized, oh God, the house stinks of pickles all the time. I don't want to be a pickle maker, because the reality of that is not what I want. And then third time lucky, he trained to be a florist. Well, he did a small course first. He realized, actually, I adore this. And now he's doing it. He's super successful. And I just think we need to bear in mind that, you know, while you do have to give it your all, you also, it's this sort of balancing act of digging the heels in, but also holding it kind of lightly, because
it might shift.
It might
develop.
Exactly.
And I also think it's important for everyone to know that, like, the pickle company or the floristry or the bric-a-brac, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, he had a nest egg, so that's fine. But lots of people don't have that option. So there is no shame in picking up part-time work to support your passion. And I really loved that, because I feel like you know, I studied as an actor, became a presenter, have kind of done all of these different things, and I'm really working on my passion project at the moment. But I always had like a backup job, you know, and even like a couple of years ago, I still was doing the commercial TV stuff to make the money because I wanted to do the other thing that my soul was like simmering on. And I think that's really important to say. There is no shame. Like, I love Amber in the book for so many reasons, and I won't give too much of that away, but extreme trauma came this beautiful opportunity for her to do what she's doing now. But she's still, when times are low, or, you know, because it's maybe seasonal, she is a baker and she still does something beautiful and creative, but it's, you know, not her thing. It's something else to make some money. And I think that it's really important to put that out there, because we both know coming up in the days, the amount of free work we did, the amount of like low paid work we did, and then the amount of, okay, I just need to pay my phone bill, I've got to do this today. You know, I was a nanny. I did 65 jobs. Like,
you were a fairy. Please tell.
I was a fairy. I was a fairy. Because I was like, you know, I was a hustler from a young age. I was like, how can I make the most amount of money in the least amount of time so I can feed my other passions? And fairies got paid $100 an hour. I was like, well, you only got an hour of work, but I was like, that's great. You know? But I've done everything. I've worked as a dating agency before Tinder and all of that was around. Like, I've washed hair, I've been a telemarketer. And I also think the beauty in doing all of those jobs is the humility that comes with it.
Yes.
Because we get to really sit in, I get everybody else. Like, I get you. I understand that you're also just trying to get by. But could we find, I guess, some way we can leverage trying to just get by with feeding our passion? You know, and to one day make that our living. Because I really love the chocolatier in the book, because just a very, I mean, I buy that product and it's an expensive product, but it's quality chocolate, medicinal quality. And she is living and thriving from doing something that many people would have gone like, who the hell is going to buy $5 piece of chocolate? Like, please, right? And she just stuck with that, going, I know what this is worth to me. I know my worth. And I love that. I think that's a part of the balance with all of these people that are living their living, is how do I put a price on my work? Like, I remember you were talking to me about the knitter and how, you know, the quality of these pieces and what she can charge for them and how she can make a living. So I think there's something really beautiful in that as well, that eventually evolves.
Yes. And I actually love that you touched on something that I haven't talked about a lot so far, but is so crucially important, which is, at the end of the day, these are businesses. These is not people. I mean, they are essentially what we call hobbies that have become jobs, but it is like, you know, you need to actually be making money. You can't just be sitting around like knitting an occasional piece and saying, you have to be business minded about it. You have to have pricing structures. And this is where things like mentors and online tutorials and all these things can be worked in, so that you can actually make it a thriving business, not just.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, is it's not like make a living with your hobby. It's like, you know, because that's a different thing. And I think that's a really great point, is this isn't just like I'm knitting in front of the TV because I just enjoy the act of that and there's something beautiful about that. This is like, okay, I love knitting. I'm going to do it now. Like, I remember reaching out to you because you are your own boss and you have to make your own hours. And I was like, hey, let's do something. Let's do it. And you're like, no. Like 8 to 5, there is no space. So I have to do it before that, after that. And I was like, but hang on, you're like just by yourself. Like, let's like move the hours around. You're like, no, this is my day.
Oh my God.
I love that, because it was beautiful. It was structured. It was strong. And I was like, I should take a bit of that. I'll do a bit of that, you know?
Oh my gosh, yes, this is so important. And I think that this is something that is touched on a lot in the book as well. And there's an exercise based around this idea of being having meetings with yourself, setting up your own workspace, being quite vigilant, being your own boss, because a lot of the time, it's scalable, right? So you can be like
Yes.
some people who go, okay, I'm only going to work 3 hours a day because I am working for myself. Or you can be like the beautiful Weaver in there from the US who's like, to be honest, I work 16-hour days, probably most days of the week, but it doesn't feel like work because it's something that I love so much and it's a Zen practice and all these sorts of things. But that is up to you. For me, I feel as a writer, like I need to have that structure, and I really do set up my days. I set little schedules. People laugh when they see them because they are so detailed. But I think we really do need to get quite firm with ourselves. It's so easy otherwise to just be like, yep, let's go to the beach. Oh, whoops, it's 3 o'clock. No, what?
Totally.
Yeah.
And we've all gotten stuck in that, I think, space as well of like abusing the space that we have and the time that we have, and then going, oh, why aren't things taking off? Or how come people aren't getting back to me? Or whatever it is. And I think that's a really beautiful point to, if you are going all in and you're working part-time Thursday, Friday, then that Monday to Wednesday or that Sunday to Wednesday is like your work week.
Yes.
And because you kind of want to touch base as well later on and go, okay, I've been doing this for a year. Have I seen any growth? What can I do differently? Like, if this is going to be my business and my livelihood, how can I truly make this work? And that's when you go, okay, I'm going to look at that. Well, you know what? I actually have to give this 5 days a week. So I'm going to work part-time at night or whatever it is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How are we going to make this work for me? Because I really do believe, and I think this is the undertone of the message, is do whatever you want. Do whatever lights you up. You can make it work. If you have to make a sacrifice with your lifestyle or the things that you want, that is a small sacrifice if you are living your truth and your passion. And you can do it. So don't make an excuse, because we all have this opportunity to make a living.
Yes, I love that. And that's exactly right. I think it's like, that is my overarching thought, is just like, okay, the thing that I think stops people most is fear. It is fear of the unknown. It is fear of the sacrifices. It is fear of what people will say. It is fear of giving things up, all of this. But at the end of the day, you need to sit down and figure out like what matters to you most. We spend 84,000 hours working in our lives. And if we're not spending those hours doing something that actually either makes us feel good, helps us give back, lights us up, like you say, then that is a great tragedy. That is as big a tragedy as any kind of failure that I can imagine. So I really hope it serves people in that way.
I feel like you have done such a great service by producing this book, because I feel like this is exactly what the world needs, even more so right now. I feel inspired. I feel like, to be honest, I love all of the stories, but the exercises is something that is really calling me to be like committing to the exercises. What do you think is one exercise for everyone that's kind of like, okay, give me something to do right now while I order the book? What is the one thing that you'd be like, do this today?
I'm going to pick the Mimic to Master exercise. It is based around the idea of what Picasso once said, which is good artists copy, great artists steal. So if you are sitting there going, I'm not really sure what my thing is. I know that I'm in this time of reimagining. I know I want to unleash something, not really quite sure what it is. I'm going to take the example of writing because that seems to be the most pertinent to me right now. But say you want to do that. You take your 5 favorite books and you sit down and you literally just copy out passages from it. You understand that way, the pacing, the structure, the tone, what you really love about these books, you really can understand it by doing that. And I remember doing this at university, and it really, really, really helped. And then after you've done that, that's when you start to make it your own. When you've done that enough, you understand the elements that you like, you can go ahead and add in your own flair, and slowly but surely you make it your own. And you can do that with anything. Say you want
I
to,
love that.
you want to
I'm
start your
kind
own.
of like, I share my thing.
Please, please.
And this is like, I feel quite shy about sharing it, but I feel like, you know, I have this great need to explore humankind, but in an obscure way, in a kind of Louis Theroux way. And it's so funny because I set in my diary today to just watch all of his interviews, because I love his temperament. I love the way he engages. I love the way he holds the space. And that's something, I guess, which is an example of what you're saying with the writing is, what did you call it? Mimic to master. Yes. And I feel like that. And it's so funny because I think we're drawn naturally. Like if you're a singer, you'll be listening to specific singers or composers, and then you'll be picking up those tiny, intricate pieces of that you can weave into your own work. Because there is a reason a master is a master, you know. And you want to be learning from the master. You don't want to be learning from
I've lost you. Hello?